Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up. I have Farbod Tehranian back with me. One of the friends of the show. Thought I'd bring him on and get another aspect, another perspective on the Rams draft. We'll talk undrafted free agents and some other stuff. What's going on, Farbod?
Nothing much, brother. Just, have never been happier to be a Rams fan lately, and it's just a great time. And like I've said multiple times I've been on the show, we're winning the Super Bowl, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, I feel really good about it. And well, that schedule will come out in what is it, the 12th it comes
I
out,
think
the
so,
15th,
yeah.
somewhere in there. So that will be that'll get us pumped up. When it's kind of funny when that schedule comes out. Every time I see the schedule, I always go like, oh man, this looks like a tough schedule. Every year I feel that way, but then we just got to remind ourselves when other fans see us on their schedule at this point, they're not happy either. So let's look at it that way. It's something I talked about with my son-in-law and a couple other people. At this point, the Rams are a premier franchise in the National Football League, right? Aren't they? I mean, if you talk about the three or four or five premier franchises at this point, you got to include the Rams. Would you agree?
Absolutely. From ownership to front office to coaching to players to venue even. What are they lacking at as a professional franchise at this point? No, they are the absolute model in what you want from top to bottom. And we're just so lucky to have this team in LA and as our favorite team, because they do embody just pure professionalism. They embody charisma, innovative approaches to things. It's just we're very lucky to be able to call this team ours, for sure.
Yeah, and the stadium too.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and the reason I thought about that, when the Rams won the Super Bowl, and there was just a lot of criticism about how they went all in, and now they're going to be paying the piper,
Mhm.
and your team's going to suck for 5 years. And at this point, yeah, there were a lot of naysayers on social media, even the experts, guys like Mike Florio, and several others, just really criticizing the Rams and very down on their prospects. And at this point, nobody goes there anymore with the Rams. Nobody
Yeah.
questions, their potential from year to year.
Yeah, hopefully they've learned their lesson and finally put some respect in Sean McVay's name. I know Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football. He's gone on record saying Sean McVay is his favorite coach recently. So at least that's starting to change a little bit in that national narrative. But he's getting the respect. But yeah, man, I think especially after, it's just like people and professionals just seem to just forget. It seems like almost every year we're in it, man. Even last year we were 13 yards away from an NFC Championship.
Right?
So it's
Yeah.
like, and people forget. And then you look at us this year, we've retooled and we're ready to get right back in there. And sometimes still people just forget about the fact how close we were last year and our new additions. So it's just, man, I have never been more excited for a season, except maybe when we got Stafford. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think we were one block away potentially from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that though. That's I, I've I think I've
Yeah,
gotten
I agree.
I've I've gotten past that. Hey, so I wanted to ask you, we're going to talk about the draft. What is your how do you watch the NFL draft?
I have a 78-inch TV in front in my living room, and I blast it, and I stand in front of it with a beer in my hand like I'm watching a game. And I'll stand and sit, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do you have a spreadsheet or a list of players you like or
And internally, and typically I have a little party for it too. But I live in South Florida, and right now the Florida Panthers are in the playoffs, and lo and behold, one of the games was on the same time as the draft. So all of my friends that already came and watched the draft were out watching the Panthers game, which respect, kudos to them. But I was, I
yeah,
love
I can be pretty bad. There have been years where I, write a spreadsheet with formulas and I calculate, how many picks till the Rams pick and
nice.
highlight the players that I'm interested in and try to figure out, generate a view, a real quick snapshot of their chances of getting one of them. And then the Rams pick somebody that I didn't have highlighted in the first place.
Right,
But
exactly. So it's almost for me, I'm like, let me just bite on all that and just be surprised because it's gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah. Yeah, and this year was kind of special in a sort of an odd way. You know, we do this every couple of years. We do a big family vacation. Last time there was 9 of us. This year there was 7 of us. And you know, my daughter takes the lead organizing it, and they picked you know, late April for the trip.
Oh man,
And have you ever seen the movie Fever Pitch?
I know.
The Red Sox. There's a scene in that where his girlfriend says, "Hey, we're going to Europe," and he's a big Red Sox fan, and he kind of looks over her shoulder at the Red Sox schedule, and he's like, you know, I don't think I'm going to be able. The Mariners are in town, man, and I kind of felt that way when they were picking the dates. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
is it the
I
NFL
actually,
draft?
I actually experienced that last season. So last season during the draft, the first round and the whole draft, I flew out to Vegas for a
Yeah.
festival there. And luckily, I flew Delta. They have TVs there that can get live TV. So I did catch most of the draft. But by the time the Rams were picking, I was walking in the terminal. So luckily, I was able to pull it on my phone and they called Jared versus name, and I'm just in the terminal of the airport, and I jump up and I'm like, hell yeah, got verse, and everyone just looked at me like I'm crazy.
That's a good way to get arrested in an airport, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
there were I think 2 straight years my son was playing travel basketball, and we ended up in some far-flung gym in Las Vegas during the draft, and I'm sitting up in the top row of the bleachers trying to follow the draft and watch my son's game. And we were just
Oh,
talking about it the other day that he would be looking at me and I'd be trying to give him hand signals of what the pick was, you know. But yeah, there's nothing like my preferred mode of viewing is sitting in my little room with the TV on, with either a notepad of all the players I like or a spreadsheet. But this year I wasn't able to do that, and thankfully Ian stepped up and carried the pod and the YouTube channel on his shoulders there for a few days, and he did. He's much better than I at providing an player analysis. So maybe it was a happy accident.
sure, sure. Yeah, I
So
definitely enjoyed listening to Ian, so that worked out.
yeah, let's talk about these draft picks first of all. We'll just go through these real quick, and you talk about whoever you want to talk about, any perspective you want to add. You know, obviously, for those of you listening on the pod, I got the picks listed here. Terrence Ferguson, the tight end. Josiah Stewart. I got his name spelled wrong there. Josiah, he has that extra A there. Out of Michigan. Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn, the running back. Ty Hamilton, unsung hero of that Ohio State defensive line. And then I'm just rolling with Pooh Paul at this
Might as
point.
well.
That's
Yeah,
what he likes. Now, and I was deliberating. I don't think we need to add the junior if we're calling
probably
him
not.
Pooh, right?
Probably not.
Linebacker out of Ole Miss. And then I've been practicing this name. I think it's
Oh.
Konote Mumpfield, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. Anything you want to talk about these draft picks?
I could talk about all of them, Mark. Why don't we just go in order, huh? Does that sound okay? Can we do
Yeah,
that?
yeah, have
Okay.
at it.
So let's start with Terrence, the good old Terrence Ferguson. So first off, I just want to point out, we all saw it, and maybe even some Rams fans predicted it. Quarterback, offensive tackle, first pick, right? I was never thinking that. I was never one to think that, and I think our the first time I was on the pod, Mark, I mentioned that I don't see our first round pick being someone who can't contribute right away because just of how effective our first round pick was last year in Jared Verse. I think we're in a win now mode. I think they know that Stafford's got a year, maybe 2 left, and they want to put as much talent around him as possible to get that done. Drafting a quarterback in a weak quarterback class, mind you, or a tackle, doesn't do that because we have 2 starting tackles and we have a starting quarterback, obviously. So I never saw them doing that. What I did expect was either an inside line. In order, what I expected: cornerback, tight end, or inside linebacker. With inside linebacker being the least likely possible because we all know how much the
Right.
Rams. I'm even shocked we drafted one at all, to be honest with you, Mark. I was stoked we got Pooh Paul when we did. but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so the fact they went tight end here did not surprise me. It was one of my top three positions, even top two, that I thought they'd go. Very interesting hearing that they even considered getting Ferguson at 26, but I don't think any Rams fan could blame them for trading back and still getting their guy when they got an extra first rounder next year. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I have to wonder if trading back to where did they draft him? Was it 46?
Yeah, because I've heard it was 20 picks later, so yeah,
Yeah.
46.
If they made that calculation, you know what? If we trade back Ferguson, Arroyo, or Fannin Jr., maybe all three of them were on their draft board,
Yeah,
and they figured they'd get one of them. Probably, I'm not sure about Fannin Jr., but I think Ferguson and Arroyo, who Seattle took him a moment later.
right.
So that may have been the thinking. We'll never know. But obviously, they liked Ferguson the most of those three.
For sure. For sure. It's not surprising that they wanted someone who could at least step up in blocking too. I think Sean was interviewed multiple times calling it the C area, as in the C gap. So he likes Terrence there. I really, really do expect we're about to see a decent, at least, dose of some 12 personnel. So that's going to be exciting seeing that. I know in his at the time Redskin days, he did utilize that. He even said Terrence Tehranian hit him a lot of Chris Cooley. I mean, that's one hell of a comparison, if you ask me.
Yeah. And if they do go 12 personnel, that may be good news for Colby Parkinson. If they go 12 personnel a lot, if that's a calculation,
Well,
because there's been discussions about maybe that they move on from Colby, but if you go 12 personnel, you probably need to keep four tight ends around, right?
yeah. Yeah, I don't see us getting rid of any tight ends right now if we do that for that exact reason, Mark. You nailed it. But it's going to be pretty exciting seeing Terrence and Higby on the field at the same time. I think
Yeah,
that's going to open up a lot of
yeah,
exciting.
and I still feel bad for Colby. I don't know if these guys watch the draft; they probably do. But then that phone call. I talked about it a little bit. Sean McVay talking about he can't wait to see Terrence and Tyler out there
Yeah,
together.
not
And
even
Colby,
mentioned.
yeah, ouch. But and then the edge rusher out of so I agree with you. My three positions that I thought the Rams would go early were tight end, cornerback, missed on that, and
Mhm.
wide receiver. They waited till much later. And a lot of people were making the argument for edge, and I didn't really see it. But then I don't know how they feel about guys like Brennan Jackson. Nick Hampton, I think is a guy that can contribute, but um, there
Yeah.
probably has some limitations there. But they go ahead and draft Josiah Stewart, extremely productive edge rusher out of Michigan, right?
Hmm. And this was probably my biggest surprise of the draft. Not so much because I dislike the pick. I love this pick. Don't get me wrong, Mark. But I just didn't expect them to go a position like this so early. I
Right.
didn't necessarily see edge as a need of this team, but if this team loves to go BPA, so fine. The more I did research into Josiah, excellent pick. I think what we're forgetting, Mark, is that Hoyt was a big part of our rotational pass rush on
Right.
that cheetah package. I think Josiah is the replacement for Hoyt for that. He can rush from the inside, do the stunt work, all of that. And he's a little undersized. That's fine. We didn't draft him to play on our goal line run stopping packages.
Right.
I think if it's third and long, he's going to be out there 100%. So I.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've thrown a couple of late darts at late round picks, Chris Garrett, Daniel Hardy, that didn't really work out. They
Oh,
finally decided, let's start drafting edge guys earlier.
yeah.
Byron Young, Josiah Stewart, Jared Verse. So
And
just a
if I'm not mistaken, he is also of the same. He's cut from the same cloth that he also started off at a smaller school and ended up transferring his way up to a bigger school like Michigan, right?
right.
I think they
And
like that.
And,
That's a
and
good
the one
person.
thing about these first three guys, especially, and it could be true of all of them, I'm still ingesting information on all these guys, but Ferguson, Stewart, and the next guy we're going to talk about, Jarquez Hunter, the running back out of Auburn, all three of them,
Yeah.
check all the boxes as far as character, hard work, team guys, locker room guys, and that is, you cannot underestimate the value of that. I think the Rams have done a really good job of avoiding knuckleheads, of
Yes.
avoiding the me guys, the me not we guys.
Right.
And if they do end up on the roster, it's not for long. And Ferguson, Stewart, and Hunter all check that box big time. And I like the Jarquez Hunter pick.
Love it. Absolutely. More on what you just said, though, Mark. I don't know if this is just me, but I really do attribute Aaron Donald for that. Because if you remember, right, I think it was the 2023 season when we gutted the defense, and they asked him how does they told him their plan. We're gutting this defense. We're gonna go young rookie, and they're gonna to get him cheap. And he goes, I don't care. Do it as long as they care. To me, at least, it just seems like ever since then, we've been going heavy on this. They got to love the game. They got to have the high personality. They got to care, in essence.
Yeah. And also some really intelligent players. I'm not sure about these guys, but I don't know if you've ever seen interviews with Kobe Turner or Quentin Lake.
Sure.
Man, just super. You could just tell, sometimes you can just tell, and it takes you 5 seconds to figure out these are really intelligent young guys, and that counts for something too. Now,
Sure.
Ty Hamilton, I feel like the entire Ohio State defense got drafted, but I think he was the last of their defensive line to get drafted. But the Rams needed to add some bodies there, I think, and
Yes.
Hamilton's a little undersized, perhaps, but I think again they needed to go
Mark,
trenches at some
I
point.
feel like we skipped Jarquez, though. I didn't get to talk about
Oh
him.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Talk about him.
I do also, between this pick, Jarquez, and probably Pooh Paul, my favorite picks of this draft. I keep hearing people saying this guy isn't an like he's not a home run hitter. He is, though, in my opinion. He runs a 4.4. That's pretty fast. That's the fastest running back we have. He has ample 20-plus yard plays in his experience at Auburn. He's not someone who just runs 5 to 6 yards every time he gets the rock. He is that back that if he gets the ball, he can take it to the house. He can hit that home run from anywhere on the field. So I love this pick. I think he's going to be a great addition. I mean, we talked about it actually, Mark. We said that one of the big needs going into this draft was a change of pace back. I do feel like Jarquez is that guy.
Yeah, and you're right, and he's a very unique player in that you're right. He's right now the fastest Rams running back, almost for sure. Certainly faster than Blake or Kyron.
Yeah.
But he's also known for his lower body strength. And I
Yes.
watched some film on him, moving the pile, picking
Yeah.
up first downs, getting into the end zone, and then he has that burst too. It's a really interesting combination of like I don't want to I don't want to label him a short yardage power back. I don't know how you characterize him. He's a very unique running back. He's got speed and he's got lower body strength to get those tough yards as well.
I think we're very well stacked at running back right now.
Oh yeah.
And all I can say, and I'm going to emphasize this more after we're done talking about all these guys, but man, Mark, this might be the most excited I've even just been for the preseason. I can't wait to see all these guys out there. Hopefully we see them.
Yeah. Just remember, talking about preseason, if we lose 40-0, just chill. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Of course.
And I think that's the other thing. And I used to like that. I remember that one game against the Broncos, going off on a tangent here, where we just got clobbered by the Broncos, and I was just like, "What the hell is happening right now?" And Les Snead after the game was like, "It's preseason, man."
Right.
Yeah. And then they came out of the gates and played really well. And it's an advantage to, I shouldn't say it's an advantage. If a team is willing to take the blows during the preseason, they're learning about their players. Their players are getting great experience, and they're figuring out the bottom part of that roster. And if that means you're going to lose 40-0, let the the Sean Paytons of the world, get their rack up their preseason wins.
Sure.
And we learned about our players and figure out.
Yeah, you can't look at it like a win-loss thing, Mark. You know this. It's not. I mean, like when we won the Super Bowl in 2021, we went 0-4 in the preseason, and then we've gone undefeated in the preseason and won 3-2-1 games. So you got to look at the players, how they look. And just for example, last season, Omar Speights looked fantastic in the preseason. And
Right.
that's what all the Rams fans saying, put in Omar, put in free Omar, free Speights.
Yeah, right.
We were all yelling
Right.
it. So eventually it happened. But yeah, I'm curious what these guys have. That's
Okay, so those first three picks pretty solid. Then you got
first
Ty
pick.
Hamilton and
Yes. Ty
uh,
Hamilton, actually, one of my good friends who lives in Ohio and Cleveland. He's a big Ohio State fan. As soon as we made that pick, I texted him. I said, "Bro, what are your thoughts on this guy? I know nothing about him." He was short and sweet. He's a fantastic rotational piece, and he will keep your D line fresh. He's going to be that guy who's going to be high effort when he does come in. So that's exactly what we needed. We needed losing some. I know we got Puna Ford, but losing. We lost multiple guys. That we didn't just lose Bobby Brown. We lost, I believe, Neville Gallimore too, and he was getting some snaps, if I recall, towards the end of the season, especially. So
yeah.
yeah,
We got those three starters, Braden Fisk, Puna Ford, Kobe Turner, pretty dang solid, right?
sure.
Now, Braden Fisk, the knock on him is, not great against the run. And then we have behind him, we have Tyler Davis coming back. Now we
Yes.
have Ty Hamilton, Deshaun Johnson's still there, and I'm forgetting someone, Laurel Murchison. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
rotation,
Yeah.
pretty good group. And we'll talk about some undrafted free agents. You talk about some size. You might want some size as well.
Yeah.
A couple undrafted free agents that check that box. We'll talk about them in a minute. So yeah, just rounding out that defensive line group looks pretty good.
Love it.
Um, so you're a big fan of the Pooh Paul pick.
Oh
When
yeah, yeah, and that's courtesy as well to you guys, you and Ian, Mark, because you guys have talked about him a lot in the past, and he was exactly what it looked like the Rams. He's a little undersized. That's fine. They said the same thing about Ernest Jones. He was undersized too, technically, quote unquote. So irrelevant. He plays with a high motor. He makes the tackles. He's got the stats, high effort. And that's what we need in that position. It's pretty much someone who's the opposite of Troy Reader, and we got
right.
that's hard to
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah, I see Reader and Landman, I think are similar.
I see Landman as an upgrade to Reader
Yeah.
personally, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Right. That's probably true. And then you got Omar Speights, who's kind of a, overall decent linebacker at this point. Could turn into something special. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
And then I think Pooh Paul, I think, is the guy that is going to have the ability to go sideline to sideline more than the other linebackers, I think. No ding on Omar Speights. I think he can do a little bit of that as well. But I think that's what the Rams need. Certainly a linebacker that can, cover some ground, basically.
Exactly. 3 down back, ideally. So
Right.
we'll see. Root for him.
Now, Konote Mumpfield, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh, and seventh round pick. I just commented on there is a website guy grading all the Rams picks, and I try to chime in when I can. I give them a shout out for taking the time to create some Rams content, and he gave this pick a D, and my comment was, I don't give any seventh round picks a D, in my opinion. You know,
Right?
they see something in him. You're trying to find a guy. If I'm Les Snead, I'm trying to find a steal, or I'm trying to find a guy that kind of rounds out a position group. And Mumpfield looks like a guy that'll be competing with someone like Xavier Smith for a roster spot. Probably, in all likelihood, going to end up on the practice squad. Might be the
Special.
best scenario. But I watched some film on him, and I was impressed with his just ability to find that little. I watched a lot of tape on him, actually, highlights and such. And I know sometimes that's just cherry pick stuff, but it just has a knack for getting open and making little moves to pick up extra yards, which a lot of recent Rams wide receivers have been really good at. You check into Mumpfield at all yet?
Yeah, I watched some of his tape, and I looked into him a little bit. He seems like a solid 7th-round pick. Like you pointed out, Mark, it's a shot in the dark, man. It's a 7th-round pick. He might make the team, he might not. If he does, though, I do. It's a special teams pick in my eyes.
Right.
He's gonna get preseason snaps. I'm pretty sure about that. So we'll see him there. But what I have seen, he goes after the ball in the air. He's a great route runner. Not going to be blazing you down the field, but he seems like a route technician. Says he loves to watch tape. So that's going to favor it's going to go in his favor. So as far as getting
Yeah.
snaps and all that.
And
So yeah,
remember the Lance McCutcheon experiment,
right. Yeah.
sometimes they shine in the preseason and it doesn't mean anything. We got to
Right.
remember that too.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say doesn't mean anything. I mean, I think McCutcheon's still in the league somewhere.
Right.
But you can't, I mean, everybody was arguing for McCutcheon to, get snaps and possibly even start, but
Right.
we don't see everything,
Yeah.
if you're the
We're
primary
not going to beat
receiver,
Puka and Devontae right now. No.
right? Yeah, and I mean, if you're the leading receiver for a team in the last preseason game, um, you know, it's great and it's demonstrating something, but I think what at that point what's happening in practice and in study hall might be more important to the coaches than having 6 catches for 98 yards, against a bunch of guys trying to make another team's practice squad. So just remember that.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. So what's that?
I said I like the pick. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
It's
I thought they'd pick a wide receiver early,
yeah.
so but um, can't really can't really argue with this. Let's see, what are we going to go to next here? The undrafted free agents on defense. We'll go through these real quick. I have some notes now. We're going to get into a little bit more detail on 3 of them at the end here. But give me 1 second. Let me pull up my notes here. I restarted the computer and I
Oh,
closed my document here. I always do a reboot before I start streaming because things do get a little bit bogged down. So Malik Dixon Williams out of UConn, 6'1", 203. Got him listed as a DB here, but he's going to be a safety. And he had a really impressive pro day, and I think that's what maybe caught the Rams' eyes. But 258 tackles and 7 interceptions there at UConn over his career there. And then Bill Norton, I was talking of, and jump in here whenever you want to.
sure.
Free feel to interrupt. Defensive lineman Bill Norton out of Texas. He played, let's see, 1 year at Arizona and 2 years at Georgia. So he won 2 national titles at Georgia before ending up at Texas. And he's 6'6", 335 pounds. So if you're looking
All
for,
right.
yeah, if you're wondering, where's the beef on that defensive line, maybe Norton or Dejon Terry out of Oklahoma. He's 6'3", 330.
Okay.
So these guys, I'm not going to get into their tape or what their chances are making this team, but I think anybody north of 330 pounds, a defensive lineman north of 330 pounds, has a shot at making this roster because the Rams are certainly not. They don't have a lot of big guys on that defensive front. They got some talent, but most of them slightly undersized, if anything. Sean Dolak, we'll save that for the end. Uh, Jameel Muhammad out of USC, 6'1", 260. Haven't gotten dove into him yet. Josh Piercy out of Rice, another outside linebacker, pretty big outside linebacker, 6'2", 245. So I don't know if he's an edge or I'm not sure what his role would be. And then Nate, I'm going to struggle with this name. Believe it's Val Carcel out of
Okay.
Northern Illinois, 6'1", 192. Have you looked into? We'll talk about Dolak in a moment.
Yeah, that's really the only one I've looked into, Mark Dolak. I do see that as someone who has one of the biggest chances of making the roster at the end of the day. The rest could have it. Everyone has a chance at the end of the day, but probably more so practice squad or
Right,
late
right.
maybe we'll see. But I love that size you mentioned though, man. We definitely could use that size.
Yeah,
It's going to
yeah,
boil down to the motor,
yeah,
the want these guys have, and if they're going to
yeah.
fight for
I
it.
would say aside from Dolak, the other guy on this list that I think might have a shot is Bill Norton, because the Rams love guys that have played in big time
Yeah,
programs, big time games, and Norton, 2 years at Georgia and a year at Texas, not too shabby of a
yeah,
resume.
for
And
sure.
then on offense, we have, let's see, who we're going to start with here. Um, Ben Dooley, 6'5", 320 out of Boise State. Trey Weddick out of Indiana, 6'7", 319, and I thought he was going to get drafted and did not. We'll come back and talk about Willie Lampkin, another offensive lineman, Wyatt Bowles out of Utah State, 6'5", 300. Running back Jordan Waters out of North Carolina State, and he's 6 feet 215, and he is definitely characterized as a power back. He was recruited out of high school as a quarterback slash wide receiver. He's a sixth-year senior, played 5 years at Duke, and then switched to North Carolina State. And they basically the note on him, he's a power back with an upright running style.
Trick
And
play
then we have
because he played
Pardon?
quarterback. Trick play, drop back and throw it.
Yeah, maybe a special teams guy. We'll see. And then two tight ends, Anthony Torres out of Toledo, Mark Redmond out of, where is Mark Redmond? Louisville. Don't have any notes on him. We'll be covering all these guys eventually. I'm not going to, we're just going to get into the three guys a little bit deeper today. Wide receivers, Brennan Presley out of Oklahoma State and Mario Williams out of Tulane. And they are both smaller in stature, 5'8", 174, and I think it's 5'8", 178 for those two. And then finally, True Edwards, and he's the third guy we're going to talk about. We'll talk about Dolak, Lampkin, and True Edwards. And interesting, before we move on, well, let's turn the page here. We'll talk about Sean Dolak. And Dolak and who's the other one we're going to talk about here? Lampkin, interestingly, both All-Americans. And
Nice.
it's just crazy that All-Americans don't get drafted, but hey, it's usually due to their measurables.
Exactly.
So Dolak, what do I got on him? So I'd encourage any of you Ram fans out there, if you ain't spending any time on X or Blue Sky or wherever, track down Brian Baldinger. He has some interesting takes on him. Just he compared him to Matt Milano coming out of college, the great Bills linebacker, 6'2", 225, so a little undersized, a little slow. Doesn't have great, measurables as far as speed and vertical jumps and 10-yard splits and all that. But the one thing he does do is play really, really productive football. And it's pretty amazing. You watch a tape on this guy, he just seems super smart, always on the action, interceptions, reading blocks, getting to the ball carrier. This guy has a real shot at making this team.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. His field vision is fantastic. Can play the pass great, it looks like. I mean, what Baldy pointed that out in those little clips he showed, how he can go with, what was the receiver that he was with? Someone who went early? You remember?
Oh, yeah, it was Luther
Luther Burden.
Right.
Yeah, he stood right there with him, and I mean, Burden caught the ball, but he got tackled right after. He was right there. He was playing the ball. So I think he's a pretty good at coverage, and he looks like he has got a nose for tackling. What did he lead the whole nation in tackles, Mark? Whoa!
Yeah, he had a game. He had a game against NIU. I believe that's Northern Illinois. No, Northern Illinois. In this one game, 19 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss,
Whew.
1 interception, and another pass breakup. So he just gets it done, and sometimes, that speed, the 40s and all that, kind of like with Puka Nakua, like the slowest guy at the combine. But these guys get on the football field, watch out. And I think he's going to make the team. I really do.
I do too. I see a great path for him. I think our inside linebacker room, Mark, just went from probably the worst in the NFL to arguably one of the best. We'll see, but that's what it's looking like to me, man. At least on the team. We'll see.
Yeah, and it could be, even though the Rams sign Landman and Reader, I don't think they're roster locks. They really aren't.
Especially Reader, man. No way he's just there probably to help out the young ones.
Yeah, but I don't mean to pick on these guys. I don't like to throw shade on any Ram unless there's really, really good reason. But Troy Reader is a super smart player, a coach's favorite, obviously. He can wear the green dot, he can call plays, he's reliable, but he has shortcomings. But if he's on this roster, I'll obviously be pulling for him. I'm not wishing against him making this roster, but I just think yeah, it's a group that can be improved, and maybe Dolek's part of that equation.
For sure. For sure. Excited
So
to see him in the preseason, that's for sure.
yeah, he'll get a lot of playing time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's you know, in the second half of most games, he's the one wearing the green dot. I'd
For
fully
sure.
expect that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Now, Willie Lampkin, I did a poll. He's the offensive guard out of North Carolina, and I did a poll. I don't know if you saw it. You're only allowed four options in these YouTube polls. And I said, which one of these guys has the best chance of making the roster? And I didn't include Willie Lampkin. And at least one person was like, why isn't Lampkin one of the options here? And I was like, I just kind of threw some names in the air. And then I started digging into him, and this guy is super impressive. A very undersized guard, all American. And there's a YouTube video out there. Ram fans go track down Lance Zierlein's video, the story of how he was watching Omarion Hampton tape, and after about 10 plays, he was watching Willie Lampkin tape because,
Nice.
because, and I went and watched this guy, and I was talking to my son about it. And I said, if you can see that his thought process of, okay, I got my block. Oh, look, I can go get this guy too. And he
Uh,
goes, picks up a second guy. Really, have you looked at his,
I
a
have
little bit
not.
about,
I know nothing
yeah,
about him, Mark. So
yeah,
what I'm hearing though, this sounds
yeah,
great.
no, he'll stand out on tape. I went and looked at his highlights, and
Nice.
just a hustle machine. A little, I think he's like 280, so that's a
Okay.
concern.
He's got some
But
weight to put on, maybe.
yeah, yeah, 5'10ish, 5'11.
Okay. Okay.
And if you look at this interior offensive line, and I didn't think there was much headway for an interior offensive lineman um, on this team. I didn't think they'd draft one, and they didn't. You got Avila, Shelton, and Dotson up front, and then
Yeah.
your backups are not too shabby either. Bo Limmer, Dylan McMahon, Justin Dedich, who have all. Well, McMahon really hasn't gotten on the field much, but he was a 6th-round draft pick last year of the Eagles. And then Leviston, I'm not sure what he is, but I think we're pretty well set there. But Lampkin, just the size is worrisome, but um, I if you watch his tape, it's like, is it going to translate to the NFL? I don't know, but watch out for this guy.
Yeah.
He could make this roster too at the expense of someone like McMahon or Leviston, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know how they'd use him because the size is an issue.
Right. Ever since we transitioned to the more gap duo power run game, we have preferred our bigger linemen. But we'll see. He could play his way into a backup type role, like you pointed out, Mark. I think, like with all these guys, let's see how he looks in the preseason, and if he's getting bulldozed by these backups in the preseason, then we got a red flag. But
Yeah, and
maybe,
maybe yeah, maybe they can add some bulk to him, but
for
they're not
sure.
going to they're not going to add any height to him. So
Right, right. But if he could get closer to 3, maybe he could hold up well and stash him on the practice squad, if anything.
yeah, yeah. But Lance Zierlein said it was the best guard tape he saw all year
Oh,
in
nice.
college, the best, and he
Okay.
still rated him as a priority free agent, 7th-round pick at best. But if he was a couple inches taller and 20 pounds heavier, he'd be a 2nd-round pick. The best, fundamentally the best guard he's seen in the draft, and the best tape he's seen as well. And it doesn't take long to watch. Just go watch Omari and Hampton tape, and keep your eye on number 53. And he's picking up one or two guys virtually every play. Pretty impressive.
Awesome.
Now, the last guy I added at your request, and I just started this morning to look into him a little bit more. True Edwards. He's Troy Edwards' son,
Yes.
the former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. And True is also a wide receiver out of Louisiana Tech. He's I see different measurements on him. I think he's 6'3", 201. He might be 6'2", might be
Close
6'1".
enough.
Yeah,
6'2" or 6'3". I've heard that too. Yeah.
yeah. And last season, 84 catches, 986 yards, and 6 TDs at a smaller school, but still productive. What do you got on True Edwards? Anything for us?
Man. Yeah, Mark. Well, first of all, we know that this front office loves the son of former NFL players. His dad did play in the league, I think, for 6 or 7 years. He was a first round pick too, so he has that sort of lineage to him. And I know we know the front office loves that in our new players. So there's that. That's in his favor. The guy really, really is a football player. He goes high. He catches the ball high. And it's his yak ability that I'm absolutely in love with, Mark. He's not a blazer who runs a 4.2 or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong, but he hustles. And there are two plays specifically that I want all our Ramley to go and check out. One is a play against North Carolina State where he catches a quick slant. As soon as he catches the ball, he leaps over a defender. Then he does a spin move around another defender, takes it to the house. And I think it was a 75-yard touchdown. Boom, all the way. Incredible. Love that hustle. He keeps his eyes downfield when he gets the ball. He breaks tackles and goes. And the other play is, I believe it was against Jacksonville State, where he also catches a similar slant route, but it's thrown well behind him. What does he do? He catches it behind his back. He does it like a behind the back catch, brings it back forward, breaks the tackle, and runs 80 yards all the way. So it's against these smaller schools, and he's in a smaller school himself, sure. But I mean, come on, you can't just discredit his potential abilities just because of that. And those plays alone really, really perk my ears. I think he's a hustler, and I'm excited to see him, especially starting off in the preseason and even during training camp and all that.
Yeah, I think him and Konate Mumfield could be, hunting for that last
Yeah,
roster
that'd be
spot in the
good
wide receiver
competition.
group. And
Mhm.
I think I did see that player. One of them you're talking about. I think it was the first one you talked about. I did poke around this morning trying to educate myself about some of these guys, and getting caught up on all these unrestricted, these undrafted free agents. It's quite a chore. It takes some time.
Yeah,
It's a little bit over.
yeah,
There's a bunch of them. But I did look at a little bit of film of him, and I saw that play, and
yeah.
it was impressive.
Hmm.
The one thing I try to do when I watch highlight film on YouTube is if it's cranked up by some production team with music, I turn the music off
Right.
because
Hmm.
that can tend to sway you too much, get you too pumped up. It's
I
like
just like it when it's the audio of the game. That's
right,
perfect. You know,
right,
you're the
right.
announcer and all that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about with you is the potential of our old buddy Jalen Ramsey returning, and the fact that they did not draft a cornerback just kind of blew me away. There you go. And if he comes back, Ramsey brings three things to this team. First, he brings the potential CB1 shutdown corner. I think he still has it. Number two, he brings the ability to, flex to that star position, play different roles. I could just imagine him and Quentin Lake out there together. One of them playing the star, one of them, I guess Ramsey playing the star, Quentin
Him and
Lake.
Cam Kinchins, bro. Woo!
Yeah, there's just so much flexibility. I shouldn't
Lakers.
even start talking about it because there's just too many possibilities to
Oh, yeah.
cover right now. But I have to get Ian on about how they might use Ramsey and Quentin Lake together in a defense. Because remember, Quentin Lake until that last game did not miss a single snap.
Right.
And we kind of forget about him. And the third thing he brings is we have a little bit of swag with guys like Jared Verse, but Jalen Ramsey takes the swag to to level 10, or is there a level 11?
Final
Turn it
time,
up to
baby. Yeah.
and yeah, so and that sometimes can bite you. Takes it over the top a little bit. A couple of times where that happened with Ramsey. But man, it'd be really exciting, and it would leave this defense with very few, if any, holes, really, right?
Right, and that's the thing, Mark. I wouldn't even call cornerback a hole on this team. I was going to mention that when we were talking about our draft picks, actually, because I know a lot of Rams fans were really disappointed we didn't draft a cornerback at all, let alone early. So you got to remember, we do have Darius and Akello as our starters, and Durant as our nickel. I mean, you can do worse than that. It's not like these guys are elite per se, but I wouldn't call cornerback a hole on this team.
Yeah.
So it can definitely get improved. Don't get me wrong. It's not our inside linebacker unit coming before this offseason.
Right.
So
Right.
don't get me wrong though, Mark. I'm trying to manifest the hell out of this thing. I want this to happen. I think if it does happen, it's going to be all those things you mentioned. He's going to bring the leadership. He's going to bring the swag. He's going to bring that number one cornerback ability. He will automatically be our number one, and it's going to be great putting him and Akello and Darius out there. I mean, what are the possibilities? Who would be out there? Obviously, Jalen could be one cornerback if we're not playing him at star or safety. One cornerback, and then opposite, do we just rotate Darius and Akello outside? Can we move Darius or Akello into nickel at that point? And then Durant also, we can keep all these guys fresh. So it's going to be interesting. Let it happen first, and then we can really delve in it. But man, the possibilities are endless. I can't wait.
Yeah. And remember, we have to remember that a defensive line, a really productive defensive line and edge
Yes,
rushers that bring pressure can
exactly.
make can make your cornerback group look really good, and vice versa. Really good corners can help out your pass rush. You get those coverage sacks, and this defensive line and edge rushers could be really really good, especially on 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 7 plays
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Man, they're going to bring it. They just got to improve and Puna Ford's going to improve the run defense, force
Mhm.
teams into those longer down and distance situations, 2nd and 3rd down. So that's a lot to be excited about. As far as cornerback, I agree with you. I guess at some point you start getting greedy. Like we got a really good defensive line, we got really good edge rushers. I love our safeties, our linebackers, and whatever. Can we have an elite cornerback group? I don't think we have an elite cornerback group right now. We have a decent one though.
Sure.
So yeah, when I've probably been guilty of calling it a whole. Maybe that's the wrong way of characterizing it. Maybe it's just the one group that lags a little bit behind the safety and defensive line and edge rusher groups. I think most Ram fans would agree with that. But yeah, point taken. It's not a. It's incorrect to call it a weak spot because it is not. And
Yeah.
don't forget, um, I don't know how Ram fans feel about this. I think I'm a bigger Darion Kendrick fan than most. I think
He's coming back. Yeah.
yeah, he could be, he's going to be in the mix a little bit, I think. And there's someone else I'm forgetting about. There's some other others. Well, Jalen
Um,
McCullough's more the safety, but there's a
Union
couple of
State
guys.
from Michigan, I think. Sean Jolly or something like that, or Josh
Sean
Ball.
Jolly, and then there's Charles Woods, and there's some other guys that got on the field as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's the guy from Michigan. I remember. What's his name? Our edge guy we got was talking about him being on the
Oh,
team.
Josiah Stewart
Yeah, Josiah
was talking
Stewart
about
was.
him. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. During his interview with the press.
Yeah. Okay, man. Good stuff. And yeah, keep on wearing that jersey and make it come true. Yeah. And yeah, out here, I know we're big Jalen Ramsey fans, and I
Oh yeah.
remember when the Rams traded for him, and it's like, wow, how did we do this? How did we pull this off? And to get him back a second time would be. I don't think he's quite the player he was when we got him the first time around. He's getting up there in years, but he's still. I think his according to Pro Football Focus, I think he was the 12th best cornerback in the league. Don't
Works for
quote me
me.
on that. Something
And
like
that's why
that.
we're not going to give up what we initially gave up to get him from Jacksonville. I mean, we're going to give maybe a fourth, if not later, and
Right. Yeah,
so
I think that's right.
not going to be
Okay,
too
man. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. And
bad. Mark.
yeah, we'll do this again real soon out here from Rams Up.